Welcome everyone. It's Angelo Robles. The $50 billion lie. Why 50 million? Now runs a real single family office. Actually, more potential at 50 million than a billion. I'll prove it. But I need to open by correcting someone. Me. A couple of years ago, if you asked me, not a banker, not a consultant, me, what it takes to run a real single family office, I would have told you 500 million, 750 million plus to do it right. I said it in rooms around the world. I said it to families who trusted my judgment and believed it, because for the entire history of the industry, it was true. It's not true anymore. I want to be precise about what changed, because it really simply wasn't my opinion. The facts changed. Two things really stood out among multiple. A U.S. tax court decision in 2017 that handed families a structural blueprint the establishment never advertised. And don't worry, it kind of applies blueprint-wise to international families as well. And a collapse in the price of intelligence over the last 3 years that most of this industry has not absorbed. So when the economists and the institutional investors and billion-dollar family office executives tell you a family office starts at $1 billion, and they will, understand my position. I don't disagree with their argument. I rather have $1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion as well. Yes, there's more things potentially I could do and more internal teams and resources I could build internally. So adding potentially to my bureaucracy as well. So again, I know their judgment by heart because I used to make it. Here's why in the next hour, come on, it's me, probably 90 minutes, get a cup of coffee. I will show you. A family worth 50 to 100 million can today run a genuine single family office, full privacy, full control, full command of the money at a level of speed and capability that most billion-dollar plus families can't match and probably never will. Because the thing stopping them is the thing they're most proud of. Everything they've already built. Is there still a floor? Yeah, it's probably above 10 or 20 million. So the structures at that level may not carry the weight yet. But at 50 to 100, the debate is over. I've spent more than 20 years inside the ecosystems of well over 100 families that I was close to around the world, many of them billionaire families. I know exactly what their family offices did well, and, well, of course, where the bodies are buried. The old minimum was never a law of nature. It really was a payroll number, and that payroll just died. So ask the question the whole structure rests on. Why even have a single family office at all? Not really to hold assets. A bank does that for a fee. You build one so that what this generation learns, the next does not have to learn from scratch. Really, your private financial wealth empire. Strip it to the studs if you want. What is a single family office actually? Not really an investment firm, not a wealth manager with better stationery, not one more advisor in yet another nicer suit. It really is, and the key word is wealth more than financial, your private wealth empire and everything that word wealth encompasses, the control center behind the wealth. Look at how the people at the very top operate. Amazon is Jeff Bezos' company. His family office is the control center. Tesla made Elon famous. His family office makes them hard to judge. Even Berkshire, Buffett's public face, there's a private structure behind it that is his true fortress. Practically every billionaire you heard of runs one, and the industry has spent decades convincing you that you need at least $500 million to deserve what they have. Well, they didn't discover a law of economics that made that the case. They really built effectively a velvet rope. Now, the things I'm talking about, I expect most of you, especially servicing the industry, are going to greatly disagree with me. You might even get mad or want to challenge me. That's okay. Having discussions is good for all of us. And personally, at events or digital, I actually enjoy debates. I don't assume that I have all the answers. I may have some. Like a good poker player, I want to adapt to the situation. Conditions change, new information comes in. Right now, from my perspective, it's very different than it was even a couple of short years ago. And no question, there is an establishment that is trying to hold on to that so-called velvet rope, that exclusivity. You need to be in the $500 million, I mean, my God, to make the bottom of the Forbes 400, I believe is about $8 billion now. I got one friend that tells me you're not really rich until you're at that level. Obviously, I disagree. And sure, what I'm talking about probably 4 to 5 years ago would have been much, much harder for a variety of reasons. And this is going to be long form. I have a lot to discuss. Some of you, well, may not like it, may disagree. Like I said, that's okay, including for me. Get out of your echo chamber, open your mind. Now let's continue. Behind that rope, to me, there's, and pretty obviously, and has been for forever, a big three in the single family office world. Three things that kind of the structure of what I'm describing has always been about, and three things you cannot buy from any outside provider, really at any price. A single family office exists often exactly for one reason: to carry a family's capability, emphasis on the word capability, across generations. We talk about privacy, control, and customization. Privacy, well, your wealth may become invisible. Your holdings, your transactions, your family's internal affairs stop circulating through a bank's back office, a wealth manager's client database, maybe a conference cocktail hour. Your business becomes your business, period. Control, well, maybe you become the puppeteer and not the puppet. Every investment decision flows through you. Every fee justifies its existence to you. Every strategy serves your vision. You stop hoping your advisor has your interest at heart. You know the incentives, well, because you built them. And customization. Your wealth works exactly how you want it to. Unconventional convictions? Perhaps. Okay, do it. Build a portfolio that you believe in. Optimize for, maybe in your case, your grandchildren. Structure everything for a 100-year plan. Your rules, your goals, your legacy. The big three: privacy, control, and customization. Optimized, nothing could compare to a single family office in the collective of those three. Now, I'm going to add a fourth that even I don't put in my brochures. I don't know why. It's perpetuity. Structures that survive any single person. Why my private intelligence and strategy membership community is called SFO continuity. Perpetuity and continuity. Now, that's knowledge that transfers across generations instead of dying with the founder. Systems that get smarter every year. We're going to get into that. The difference between rich for now and forever truly wealthy. Beneath all of it sits the truth that commonly in the field of wealth management, like what? They don't really say to your face, I'll say it for them. Nobody on earth cares about your wealth, your family, your legacy the way that you do. You may not be the best person for it, but you should care about it the most. They can't. It's structural. Their children don't depend on your decisions. their grandchildren won't live with your outcomes. Not an accusation, really incentive physics. Proximity is not loyalty. A fee relationship is not a bloodline. And that is why a team dedicated to your family and your family only, potentially 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is the ultimate arrangement in private wealth. It always was. The only thing wrong with it was kind of the price. Now hold that thought, because the price is really the whole story. You got to think what the current arrangement is costing you. Be honest about what you have now. Because the case for the family office isn't only what you gain, it's kind of what you're bleeding. Run your own arithmetic. A family, even at 75 million, between banking relationships, all advisory fees, fund fees, product markups, and tax inefficiency of really nobody coordinating anything, is typically paying probably 1.5% to 2% or more, like all in every year. Do the multiplication, 7 figures annually, compounding against you for quarterly meetings and a glossy book. Now that's the visible bill. The invisible bill is really the crime. Your children learn to be consumers of wealth, never creators of it. They see advisors. They never really see leadership from you internally in the family. They inherit distributions and dependence. Now, we all know the phrase, whether I perfectly agree with it or not, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, probably should be more purchasing power to purchasing power over 3 generations. People quote it like it's the weather, like it's something that just happens to other families, unlucky ones, of course. Well, it's not the weather. It's exactly this. The assets transferred, but your judgment didn't. And assets without judgment, that's not true wealth. There's a countdown there with a nice statement attached, of course. Your family's unity erodes into a payout calendar with like your surname on it. Siblings who convene only at advisor presentations, decisions that happen to the family, but never with it, never. And your legacy dissolves into other people's products when your advisors understand your wealth better than your heirs do. Those values in your family are not being transmitted. Your vision dies with you, and what survives is a number in a trust, maybe a good number, maybe it's even growing, but it's not a living legacy. The industry has convinced you that this is normal. It's not normal. It's the predictable output of a system where everyone at the table except you gets paid, whether or not your family thrives. The family office isn't about saving fees. It's really about saving families. I didn't want to make my first real hardcore argument strictly only about the monetary aspect, although that does play into it. I wanted to segue that into the concept of the family, of unity, of perpetuity. And those are things that go simply beyond, when we talk about wealth, the monetary aspect. Although, let's not fool ourselves, and I am going to talk about that relatively soon. And that has changed too. So of course, the monetary aspect, the financial aspect of wealth is important. And make no bones about it, I don't want there to be any confusion. I know that many of you are going to disagree. Many of you, and I appreciate those that subscribe to my platforms, are advisors or those that serve in the community. And I'm assuming the vast majority of you are well-meaning. You're taking your skills and turning it into a utility and making a living. Hey, it keeps things flowing and things moving. So I don't mean to be disrespectful. Many, and I do mean many, of my friends are incredibly talented people in finance and legal and accounting. I don't know if they're going to like me as much after this video. Hey, some are better than others, but I'm saying as a family, take this internal. That's not to say that you always build. Sometimes you do rent, but do you want to be excellent at it? Is privacy, control, and customization in what we're discussing important to you? And is taking it internal maybe even going to cost more money? Definitely initially take more time, and decisions like hiring and firing and leadership. And maybe that is just not you or where you want to be in the stage. I do not recommend even some billionaire families just automatically have a single family office. And most single family offices are, relatively speaking, mediocre. It makes me sad. I want them not just to be good, I want them to be excellent, to be great. We have different definitions, some of it quantifiable, some qualitative, relative in the industry, all things that I work on with families. But I'm not going to back down. I'm going to stick to what I'm saying. I'm not in this industry to be beloved, and Lord knows I'm certainly not. I have been in it a long time. I've been around the world. I've seen some of the most incredible families, rising generation, family offices, and advisors that service those communities. It is important that collectively they work together. But to me, the foundation, the source where it all spins out of needs to be the single family office. And I think now more than ever, that number, that so-called AUM, and that's a little bit of a very raw benchmark to judge whether the single family office is viable, but to people to poo-poo it because it's under $500 million and God forbid only 50 to 100 million and assume no, you need only the outside professionals that know it all. That is complete nonsense. I'm not so sure it wasn't nonsense, depending on what level, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. It definitely is now, and I'm going to continue to prove my point. And again, disagree as much as you want, challenge me to a debate. It's all good. If you're someone who's prominent within the MFO or broadly wealth management community, and you want to go toe to toe, it's something that I'm more than fine with. Just do understand your perspective from the very start is going to be conflicted for your own livelihood and your profession. I'm not saying I'm going to shove that in your face 10 times. I'm just saying it's a reality of the situation. So importantly to me, the old math and why it died. And I know I spent a fair amount of time on the math part when that's not even the most important reason for a family office. So why did everyone say that $500 million? Not really from principle, from words I used earlier when I called it payroll. The traditional, emphasis on traditional, family office was really a staffing model wearing often an investment strategy, analysts, portfolio managers, control or accountants, reporting staff, operations, compliance, salaries, benefits, turnover, politics, key person risk. You needed enormous assets before the machine justified its own weight. That was the old argument. And at the time, it may have been somewhat correct. It was an artifact of what intelligence cost when intelligence only came in human form. So ask the question that changed my mind. What happens to the minimum when the price of intelligence collapses? Oh, because it most certainly has. And here's the arithmetic that should probably keep the traditionalist awake. There are 168 hours in a week. A human professional gives you 50 on a heroic week, minus meetings, vacations, distractions, the resignation letter that eventually walks your institutional knowledge out the door to a peer, to a competitor. The machine, my word for technology and the advancements in AI, can work 168 hours a week. It can never forget, never quit, and it compounds. We're going to come back to that because that's a key. The gap between what intelligence cost for the entire history of wealth management, aka family offices, and what it costs today, this afternoon, if you're Eastern time, is the single largest structural arbitrage in kind of private wealth today. And understand what that collapse did to the old family offices, because this is the part their own children, I think, actually have already figured out. Let's go back in time. The family office of 2005 existed because its services were scarce. Consolidated reporting, manager access, deal flow, research, coordination. You wanted those back in the day. You built them because you couldn't buy them. Now in 2026, think about it. Nearly every one of those services is somewhat commoditized, democratized, AI augmented, past the point where any single family office could probably compete with it. The reporting is worse than a platform's. The research is slower than the right model. Deal access, I mean, come on. Some of your rising generation can reach venture deals through their college friends and relationships, run institutional grade analysis tonight, hire world-class expertise by the hour from anywhere on earth, which is why inside the legacy family offices, the next generation has quietly stopped asking what the family office is for. That's old news. And started to ask, honestly, the harder questions. Why do we need one at all? I know it sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, since I'm like the greatest advocate of the single family office. Now, for the family office built on services, that question really has no good answer anymore, because the only advantage left standing are kind of these four: speed, customization, integration, and privacy, that you cannot get anywhere else. Now, notice what they have in common. Not one of them is a service. They're all properties of an institution. And the second, a provider sells them to you, they're selling them, well, to everyone else as well. The billion-dollar office has to carry a payroll built for the scarcity era. We're getting a little deep here. While its own heirs question its very existence. You get to skip the entire dead layer and build only the four things that really still matter natively from a blank sheet, even if you have to restructure today's world. Easy. With the best tools in history. No legacy systems, no entrenched staff, no committee study. God, that dies in legal review. Let them renovate a museum. You're building a rocket. Now, here's how I test any family office, a billion-dollar institution, or really one born this year. Three things. Putting on my Peter Drucker, my favorite hat to put on, practice management, and how to go from mediocrity to good to excellent. I look at things like first principles, I look at speed, and I look at bottlenecks. Does it reason from first principles, from how we've done it to can it execute at speed? Today's world actually moves that, because speed matters more than at any point in your career. And how many bottlenecks stand between information and action? And how many approval loops? Committee calendars and sign-offs exist for comfort, much more so than function. Put the big old cumbersome family offices through these three tests and watch the majority of them fail. Precedent instead of principles. Quarters instead of hours. Bottlenecks it can no longer see. It can't even see them because they've been institutionalized into the culture. God, you want to know why I'm so beloved by everyone? Now, put a smaller family office through them, either built or even rebuilt, like I said, correctly, AI native. It reasons from first principles because it carries no precedent. It executes in hours because, well, nothing stands in its way. It has no bottlenecks because you refuse to build any, which leads to the sentence almost nobody in this industry will say out loud. There is more potential. Maybe that's the key word, potential, in a $50 million family office built right than a $1 billion family office built in 1995. The future belongs to the fast, not the big, And for the first time ever, $50 million is big enough because fast just became the thing that money is not going to be able to easily buy. I need to focus on intent, a force that decides like everything. Before a single entity gets formed, we're going to get to that. Before a single dollar moves, the part almost every family skips, and the reason almost every family office really underdelivers, here's the brutal truth of most family offices, including so-called famous ones. They are investment offices for one generation, masquerading as multi-generational institutions. They have a balance sheet that spans generations and a purpose that often expires with whoever built it. What's missing is intent. Intent is not a mission statement laminated for the annual meeting. Intent is a burning purpose that survives the founder, the magnetic force that aligns every generation. The filter applied to every decision, every hire, every investment. Intent is the difference between a family office and a family legacy. Before you build anything, your family answers four questions in writing in your own words. Let me change that a little bit. Why? Why does this family exist beyond making money? What will make the third generation fight to keep it alive? Not just tolerate it, but to fight for it. How does every decision made today serve the family 100 years from now? And which values are so core that violating them means you're no longer operating in this family's name? Weak answers produce what? A weak family office. No matter how elegant the structure, and we're getting to that. Strong answers become the Constitution. Everything else is built to serve. Listen, me going solo today for probably about an hour and a half. Yeah, I got some show notes. I'm on some riffs. I'm saying things that most people giving away free and publicly, well, they either don't have the knowledge or sometimes the gumption, the capability of putting it together. I am sharing the insights of the reality of the industry and what's available today. I'm going to get to structures, 5 layers of the structures, how investments have changed. I'm into the intent aspect of it now. We're going to talk about the rising generation. Of course, we're going to talk about the machine, the tech, the AI. You're getting a lot here. For my members, I'll be writing effectively yet another, I think it's number 9, ebook, this one more intimate, about 100 to 120 pages. And it accompanies what I'm updating also this summer. I started a couple of days ago, my 700 slide kind of a handbook on creating a top 1% family office. It's an incredible time. Again, maybe some of you disagree from my perspective. That's okay. I don't assume to have all the answers, and I'm more than both capable and willing to change my mind as new information comes in. But again, you're talking to someone who lives and breathes this globally 24/7. I need to sleep more. I am in it very deep. I know what I know. Maybe I know what I don't know what I don't know. I am telling you, and I know some of you are just, the attention span is probably good for 90 seconds or 3 minutes. Maybe I'll do some clips from this. But for those of you that stay with it, that listen, that are willing to keep an open mind, I think I'm going to have a lot to share here that many of you have not heard a pundit or family office thought leader really let rip. And really, when also collectively running a membership organization that hosts events, people that aren't thought leaders that only host events, they care about being an event organizer that makes money. They don't really make money from the families, they make money from sponsors. And some of the organizations, the banks, the custodians, legal and accounting, again, some wonderful professionals that every family office is going to need. I just want the family office to be the layer that controls it and knows what it needs to keep internal for a variety of the reasons that I'm talking about today. I don't have those concerns to protect. If someone doesn't want to underwrite or sponsor the two forums a year, 2 days in New York and 4 days in Palm Beach, where I have the least number of sponsors in the world, like maybe 1 to 3, I don't care. A vast majority of my revenue comes from my significant families and membership and consulting. I'm able to have an independent perspective, and from my perspective, to talk the truth and not worry about offending people that are quote unquote paying the bills. I've also earned that over decades in the industry, and maybe having a level of resources that allows me at my age a level of freedom that maybe I didn't have 5 or 10 years ago. I think the intent one that I'm talking on is very important. Here's where this stops really being a philosophy and becomes more engineering. Think about it. In the old world, intent lived in a document that certainly nobody read, and in the founder's head that nobody could copy. In your family office, how about intent that gets encoded into an investment policy the machine enforces on every proposed position, into the workflows that route decisions, into the systems your children learn on? Your values stop being a speech given once a year and become really the operating logic applied consistently at machine speed to everything that the family office does. AI does not dilute intent. It's the first technology in history that actually guards it. You get intent right, and the rest is execution. Skip it, and you're building effectively a very expensive brokerage account with like your name on the door. Like, among the first things that changed my mind, I hinted at it earlier, is kind of structure, or structure as a strategy. I mentioned 2 core things that kind of changed the facts. We hinted at both, but I'm going to dive a little deeper now. I tell you, this was deep and long form. Here's one of the first ones. A family office is a legal architecture before it is kind of anything else. And I want you to understand this section the way that maybe dynasties understand it, not as paperwork, but as strategy. The structure is a weapon, right? It transforms chaos. Let's go with that word, chaos, into control, taxes into deductions, and vulnerability into, well, of course, invincibility. I'm thinking of the lender management versus commissioner, United States Tax Court, end of 2017. The lender family, yes, the Bagel family, ran a management company providing investment management services to the family's investment LLCs. The IRS took the position the industry had feared for years, that this is just a family managing its own money, mere investors, so the expenses are not deductible as a business expense. The tax court disagreed. And in disagreeing, it handed every wealthy family, however we may define that, at least in America, a blueprint. And it does apply internationally, the flow and structures, architecture for sure. The court held the lender management was operating a genuine trader business. Why? Because it behaved like one. Its own staff, rent, continuous services, sourcing, diligence, monitoring, reporting, delivering to entities beyond a single individual. And critically, compensation through a profit's interest. Yeah, there's art and science here. We could do 3 hours on this. You're getting a little bit of the lighter version. It earned a share of the upside it created, the way any independent investment firm earns its keep. Not a family passively watching its money, a business serving clients who happen to share a last name. Now, understanding the architecture, the structure, the legal maneuvering, and there are nuances that apply globally, But here, the US sets a bit of a precedent, and the unique tax aspects here in America are very unique and much more onerous than other parts of the world. This is a very, very important subject, and the opportunity from this makes at lesser AUM amount the structure of a family office more viable and broadly more attractive, beyond even, although how important, privacy control and customization. My members get proprietary videos and write-ups that are much more comprehensive that I did relative to this. And probably like 5 of the top 7 or 8 global attorneys have appeared in some of my private programs in person, and proprietary videos for members and connections I make to them to the best of the best. And it just so happens, I think it's August 18th, is that a Tuesday, perhaps the most prominent global attorneys based in Switzerland. He's been on my programs before. Martin Michaels is coming on. And that guy's knowledge of international structures and how the world is on fire and chaos now, this has never been more important. So this, and you all thought I only cared about AI. It's very important and underlines everything. And you're all completely weak on it and messing it up. But yes, it is deeper than that. And understanding the beauty of architecture, of structure, is very, very important. So why does this all matter so much? Because what happened actually, like about that same year in 2017, here in the US at least, a tax act suspended miscellaneous itemized deductions, meaning ordinary investment expenses became for individuals essentially limited in deductibility. Every dollar spent managing wealth the passive way is now a very limited to, if at any, tax benefit. But the expenses of a genuine trade or business remain deductible. Same activities, same dollars as an individual, effectively non-deductible bleeding, but structured the lender way, a legitimate deductible operating business. At your scale, the difference alone may be worth tens, maybe hundreds of thousands or more every year, perhaps, and for a long time. The tax treatment by itself maybe helps to justify the build before we said a word about anything else. And notice how the lender family actually operated, because there's a doctrine hiding inside the case that matters like as much as the tax holding. They didn't actually hire internally everyone. They didn't do everything in-house. They ran selective outsourcing with the family controlling, and the family office controlling the process. The family decides, the family directs, the family owns the architecture. Outside specialists are engaged deliberately on the family's terms for exactly what outside specialists who could be great are needed at. That's the model, not no advisors. I never said that. Advisors on your payroll logic instead of theirs. Control of the process is the product. Everything else really is a version of staffing detail. The billion-dollar crowd built their lender compliance structures like years ago, and they said nothing. The blueprint was really never a secret. It was just never offered to you. Now the stack itself, to me, I look at that as really 5 entities, each with a job, not complexity for complexity's sake, sophisticated simplicity. Now, do understand, there is a level, and depending on your situation, where you are, regimes change, taxes change, conditions change. And what I'm describing with the lender family was specific for them. There's nuances to their situation that maybe are different for you. And who knows what that situation, if under greater scrutiny, would be to you. That's why you need the highest level of legal reasoning with deep, deep experiences with family office structures, nuances, domiciles. This is definitely art and science. And who knows, what I'm saying now may become more outdated in the weeks, months, or years as they advance, depending on when you listen to this. In the end, you need to do your own diligence because everyone's situation is different and your outcomes may be different. Think for yourself and do your own diligence. On that note, shall we dive in to the five? So the management company, as before we mentioned with the lender family, really the command center, the heart of the lender design, real services, real operations, profits, interest, compensation, at least one non-family member key executive, but this entity does kind of three jobs at once. It is where your AI systems actually centralize, one brain serving every entity beneath it. It is where the intent is codified and the constitution your family wrote before anything was built operationalized. It is your talent magnet, the home of even what I would call phantom equity. So the exceptional operator can hire participants in the upside that they create, compensate them like an owner aligned with the family without surrendering even a single share of actual ownership. That is how a $50 million family competes potentially for talent against much larger billion-dollar family offices, probably not with a bigger salary, but with a better structure and more upside. Then you have the asset holding LLCs, segregated by asset class and risk, the operating business in one, the real estate interest in other, the security interest in yet another. Why? A quarantine and flexibility, a lawsuit against one asset touches only one entity, one flooded chamber that cannot sink the whole ship. And each entity can be financed, restructured, or sold on its terms without distributing anything else besides it. You have the holding company, one clean point of aggregation, even above the LLCs, your bird's eye view, one consolidated view of the empire, one clean vehicle for acquisitions, one entity, not 15, to transfer when succession comes, the difference between an estate transition that takes a signature and one that takes a decade of litigation, probably is decided here decades in advance. Ooh, the private trust company, the succession fortress. And here's where what the establishment will probably never volunteer at your scale. Maybe an unregulated private trust company in the right jurisdiction is not only accessible, it's frequently the correct answer at a cost that would shock you to what you're probably paying institutional trustees. Your family's own trustee, think about it's a little deeper than even what that may appear on the surface. No more petitioning an institution to understand your family. No more trustee turnover, resettling relationships every, 5 years? No more court approval to adopt generations change. Control without ownership, the crown jewel of the doctrine. The trustee of your family's trust becomes an entity your family governs forever with your intent written into its DNA. The tool the oldest dynasties effectively use, it was kind of always available to you, just nobody told you. Ooh, the family foundation, legacy amplification, and the most underused entity in my 5 stack. Yes, it coordinates philanthropy with the overall tax strategy, sure, but its real job is transmission. The foundation is where values meet practice and where the rising generation often gets its first taste of real command, a board seat with real capital and real consequences. Grant decisions that force your children to articulate what your family actually stands for, the safest arena to learn governance before the stakes are like the whole fortune. 5 entities, 5 jobs, but one system. Your intent at the center of it, your machine wired through all of it. Engage, like I said, elite, and I do mean elite. There may be a very limited number. A family office, legal counsel to build, probably not your golf partner with a law degree. Selective outsourcing. Counsel works for your architecture on your terms. And the blueprints, I know I helped to build them, do exist. I've also watched them built and stress tested them around the world for decades. But hold the doctrine really above even the documents. The goal, maybe it's not truly to own things because ownership makes you visible, taxable, and suable. The goal is to control things. Control makes you sovereign. What's the old Rockefeller phrase? Own nothing, control everything. The doctrine is probably over 100 years old. What's new is the machine to run it just dropped inside your budget. Now, money, taking control of your money, may be the heart of it for some, because a family office that doesn't command the investments, to some of you, isn't a family office. It's a concierge desk with a tax ID. Managing money, actually taking control of it, is not a feature of the SFO. To some, it is a core point. And this is exactly where my old argument seems strongest. Think about it. Serious investing requires an institution, the research department, the access, the sophistication, the internal team. Here's what people still making that argument, I guess they just haven't absorbed, and it changes everything. AI. AI is crumbling the walls of investing. The moats are falling, and all of them. Think about what the institution's advantages actually were. The real reasons you were told you needed them. The research moat. They had the analyst floor, and you don't. Well, that's gone. The machine reads every filing, every earnings call, every piece of research across your entire opportunity set overnight and briefs you in the morning. There are 100 analysts versus your 168 hours. Well, the wall is rubble. The information moat. They saw things first. Gone. The same data, the same speed, the same analytical horsepower. It's sitting on your desk. The sophistication moat, the modeling, the scenario analysis, the risk work that required a quant team. Gone. You stress test against 1,000 scenarios while you sleep. The access moat, private markets beyond relationship gated doors. Falling, and I'll show you maybe that breach in a moment. When the moats fall, well, something wonderful could happen. Investing maybe gets simple again. And I want to say this as directly as I can, because the industry, of course, will probably hate it. You probably don't need, especially maybe at the levels that we're talking about here, to complicate this. Don't get me wrong. The giant families, tens of billions, 100 billions, it is more complex and it's different. I'm applying here a little more to the even $500 million family offices. At a certain level, certain complexities of private deals, of GP interest, of stakes in GPs, of selectively being an LP, of often where under 100 million can't even get you in. And sports teams, selectively art. So yes, there is differences between 50 million, 300 million, a billion, 10 billion, and we got multiple families around the world now at 150, 200 billion and up. There's nuances. Although I think an hour and a half going on here is a pretty long time, investments are getting 5 or 7 minutes. But the big picture of what I'm saying is true. And definitely for under $500 million, there is no doubt about it. 100% correct. So really think about it. That complexity was never really sophistication. Complexity really felt more like an invoice. Every exotic structure, every product with a derivative wrapped around it, every strategy you couldn't explain to your own children, that wasn't intelligence at work. That was probably a fee justifying itself. What excellence actually looks like, at least at 50 to 100 million, how about a real investment policy statement and a clean asset allocation as a spine? Your IPS, written, specific, honest about your family's timelines, risk tolerance, goals, horizons, your investment constitution. And here's what changed. The resources available to build a genuinely world-class investment policy statement and allocation today are extraordinary. The best thinking on allocation, drawdown behavior, and portfolio construction, once locked inside institutions, is now open. And AI will definitely help you draft it, pressure test it against decades of market history, argue with it, refine it until it really is truly yours. Then the machine enforces it. Every proposed position interrogated against your own constitution before it even reaches your desk. No drift, no fashion, no salesman's product of the month. A clean allocation you actually understand deeply enough where it's easier to teach your children. Ruthless war on the 3 guaranteed leaks. What? Fees, taxes, and structural drag. Because at your scale, those are guaranteed returns, and guaranteed, well, maybe brilliant. Simple to describe, almost nobody does it because every intermediary in the old system was paid to make it complicated. And with that simple spine in place, the entire market, definitely public and to some degree private, is yours. So public markets, easy. Direct ownership where it serves you, tax losses harvested position by position all year long. Every holding watched around the clock, every decision recorded with its reasoning so your judgment compounds. We'll get a little more to that lately. Across decades instead of resetting every cycle. Now, private markets can be a little more complex. There is also the access moat, breached, I might add, as noted. Like you really, for many of you, no longer need a 2 and 20 fund commitment, 10-year lockups, blind pools, fees on committed capital. To only way to reach even private deals, you got platforms, including AngelList. You have some do your diligence good SPVs, special purpose vehicles wrapped in a single deal. You see the company, the terms, and the lead before maybe a dollar moves, and you invest deal by deal on your judgment at your size, deal by deal conviction versus decades long blind faith. And by the way, do your own diligence. Maybe for the largest swings from the plate, the mini Berkshire Hathaway. You're acquiring directly the operating businesses you understand. I mentioned the holding company before. The property held in your own structure, compounding without fee drag, exited when you decide, not when the fund's term sheet says the clock ran out, and engaging hands-on the rising generation, maybe getting their hands dirty. And when you transact, remember the doctrine, the lender family, selective outsourcing with you controlling the process. The team is a deal time event, not a payroll line. Elite console, quality of earnings, accountants, an operator from your network who knows the industry cold, rented at their absolute best, exactly the weeks you need them, and then maybe sent home. Standing teams don't wait patiently for great deals. They find deals because their existence demands it. That's how families end up, well, in mediocre transactions. Not bad judgment, but really more of a bad incentive architecture. Meanwhile, the machine does the diligence grunt work that used to take an associate team maybe weeks, 6 weeks. Every document in the data room read, cross-reference, every claim in a pitch checked against every number in the exhibits without fatigue, without any ego. AI has no ego. Overnight. Rounded out with a discipline allocation, diversifying your portfolio. Again, I don't want to make this an investment discussion, but it is important in the context of why I'm having this conversation. Now, that brings me even one last advantage from this perspective. Maybe it's the biggest one. How about this at the levels that we're talking about? You can actually move the $1 billion, quote me on this, the $1 billion family office is a super tanker. Committees to convene, positions too large to exit for some without moving the market. Career risk attached to every decision, so nobody decides. My 3 test, first principles, speed, bottlenecks, commonly failed at $1 billion scale. You, my friend, are a speedboat with institutional grade radar. An opportunity that's meaningful to your family is invisible at their minimums. You can enter in hours, maybe exit in hours. You can be tactful. Lean into a dislocation this week, step aside next month with no investment committee to convince, no fund documents to amend. Nimbleness used to be the consolation prize for being small. With AI leveling the information field, nimbleness is now, it could be the whole prize. They know what you know, but you can act on it like maybe by dinner today. Step back and look at what you're holding. Really step back. A simple, honest constitution, machine enforced. The full public market owned directly and watching around the clock. The private market open, maybe deal by deal on your conviction. The largest positions acquired outright and compounded without carry. And the one thing the institution can buy back at any price, the ability to move, that is institutional grade investing. You just did it without the institution and faster than the institution. Okay. The second thing hinted at throughout that really changed my mind, the machine. Now the section everything else stands on. The second fact that even killed my own argument, let me show you the machine, not the conference panel version, the real one. And we all know this is my specialty. I am not commenting on AI for family offices. I'm running it daily inside real, global, single family office ecosystems. Start with the plain question. What does AI actually do in a family office? I don't know. Let's think. Maybe a normal day. Overnight, while your family sleeps, the machine reads every filing, every earnings call, every piece of research touching anything you own or are considering. It reconciles the accounts across every entity in your structure. It checks every position against your investment policy. It watches your risk against 1,000 scenarios by morning. It has written your intelligence brief, just like you're the president. What moved, what matters, what needs a human decision right now. During the day, it could draft reports that used to take a week. It triages the correspondence. It reads 300-page documents in a deal you are considering and tells you, sometimes in minutes, where the bodies are buried. And when you need a tool that doesn't exist, we're going to get to this. A deal tracker built for exactly how you work, it builds it. Stay tuned. That afternoon. Now, hear what I just described. Every one of these sentences used to kind of be a salary. Several were departments. That payroll, those specific jobs, is the entire reason the single family office was kind of reserved for billionaires. That is why even now the sub $100 million family office is possible. And it wasn't possible 4 or 5 years ago. The minimum was payroll. The payroll is now software, so that minimal is effectively gone. Let me take it one step further, because this is what I'm actually doing inside my own operation, live right now. And the part that shocks, like even those of you that are technologists, this is huge. I'm replacing SaaS software inside finance and family offices. Think about the other payroll that nobody talks about, the vendor payroll, the subscription stack, the platform every family office rents, reporting platforms, workflow platforms, document platforms, each with a monthly invoice, each with a sometimes renewal negotiation, each with a roadmap you certainly don't control, customization limits you can't escape, and your data sitting inside their walls. That's not software serving you. You have vendor lock with a login screen. In the AI native family office, where applicable, sometimes renting is still best. Where applicable, build instead of rent. The agents, the apps I'm creating what vendor platforms did, except shape exactly how this operation works, running on my infrastructure, my data inside my walls or the family office walls, whatever. No vendor lock, no vendor controlling me, no customization ceiling, because I am the roadmap and the economic punchline. I build it once, and in theory, that's the end of my cost. No renewal, no per seat pricing, no price increase email in January. The subscription era inside a family office is ending, and the families who see it first keep the difference forever. And there's a second thing the machine does that in some ways no employee could. It kind of becomes the custodian of why. The most valuable asset a great family has after the money is its judgment. Why you passed on that deal in 2009, how you read a counterparty from across the table, what crisis or crises actually taught you. In a traditional family, the judgment kind of has no custodian. It lives in heads. It walks out with a retirement or a funeral. In your office, it gets captured as it happens. Every decision, every lesson written down with its reasoning in a form your AI reads and understands. The result is something no family has really ever had, a permanent memory that you can talk to. Ask, why did we structure the real estate deal this way? And get actual answers with actual reasoning from an actual moment. Your grandchild, maybe decades from now, asking your reasoning and getting an answer. A partner who has been with the family for decades that forgets nothing and never retires. But here are the order of things. The technology is really more of the container. The judgment is really the treasure. A family that starts writing down its why on legal pads this weekend is ahead, definitely ahead of the family with perfect software and no habit of honesty. The machine just makes the habit permanent, searchable, and immortal. That is the end of generational forgetting. Now, there's a doctrine, one rule that governs this. Right before I get into that, I don't know if what I said a couple of minutes ago really properly hit many of you. First of all, there's some wonderful SaaS and effectively software programs out there. Some of it semi-customizable for the family office world. You don't have to build it. It's there. You don't own it. You don't really control it. Data, well, it's not technically only now inside your walls, but it's convenient. But hey, they're a capitalistic company. They're going to charge per supply and demand. And some of you easily could be 5 or 6 figures for that. You can, if you want to, give the consideration with your AI in building more private, owned and controlled and customizable software specific to you. There's the time and the expense of the initial build, which, by the way, maybe is 1,000 to a couple of thousand of compute and build out, and you own it. It's yours. I have one multi-billion-dollar family office executive that has replaced some of the largest family office software brands on earth and has saved the family hundreds of thousands of dollars. You could build investment thesis, deal tracking, deal scoring that isn't even really available, created as a markdown file, which is what my members often collectively do, and including in my master classes, and then sharing it, running it through Claude Code or another build platform. And it's right there. It's all yours. I know this is coming at many of you very, very quickly. And a couple of years ago, oh my God, even like a year ago, this really wasn't available. And now you're asking me why? How can I build a real single family office at whatever, 50 to 100 million? Now you're beginning to understand. I hope, if you're staying with me. I did tell you this was going to be long form and deep. So I promised I would come back to the doctrine. One rule governs how you build all of this. And this all ties in, including to how I went over yet again the SAS. Chamath Palihapitiya. He states you cannot rent intelligence from the same place that rents it to your competitor. Alex Karp, Palantir. Serious institutions own their own means of production. For a family office, maybe I'll compress into 6 words. Own the brain, rent the horsepower. The brain is your data, your memory, your judgment encoded into systems. Yours permanently. The horsepower, the raw computing, rented commodity, replaceable if you want by breakfast. Families who invert this will discover they outsource the one thing that no family can afford to outsource, their thinking. So in practice, kind of 3 rules. Never trust only one AI alone. Run a lead model and set a second model, a third model from a rival lab against it, whose job is to attack the first one's conclusions. One model tells you what it thinks, and others, forced into disagreement, may tell you their perspective or what's true. Put the routine work on rails. The daily grind runs automatically on a schedule, improving every time as the models so frequently improve. And you save the heaviest intelligence for the decisions that actually deserve it. Is that hard? And keep the most sensitive material, your most proprietary information on machines you own. The frontier closed models, the best models always live in someone else's data center under someone else's policies. So the family's innermost picture runs on a private model, on hardware in your own walls, reachable from you anywhere and touchable by no one else. It doesn't bleed or touch into the cloud. The ceiling is borrowed, but the floor is yours. No revoked account, no rewritten terms, no vendor decision that can take your floor. The cost of all is this sits within easy reach of every family watching, often at a fraction of one's salary from an old model, which, there's going to be interesting hires in the future. Think about, not do we hire for investments, operations, accounting? Maybe the future is the better question. Who builds and runs the machine? A role most of this industry hasn't named yet, but officially in AI circles, a forward deployment engineer. One technically very, very fluid person, maybe in family, possibly the next generation, who doesn't do the work, but builds the workflows that do the work. At your scale, this may be one of the full-time operational hires that really important that you make, maybe worth more than multiple conventional ones. The world is changing. That is the machine, the thing that killed my old argument, running now at family scale for the first time in history. Governance. I'm going to do this differently than probably every governance panel that you sat through. Lucky you. Because the panels often start with committees, and committees, I think, are overrated. Quarterly parliaments, 200-page decks, nobody finishes, consensus that stands like every bold idea down to a safe one. That's not governance. That's, again, here we go to a bottleneck wherein prudence is clothing. So I start with the first principles question. What is governance actually for? It's for stewarding the 2 things that your family has that compounds. And here's the uncomfortable truth: how the traditional models treat them. The first is your capital, and your capital is probably magnificently governed. I'll be optimistic. Trustees, custodians, auditors, investment committees, an entire apparatus, millions in lifetime fees, all of it guarding the money. Your capital compounds That's the whole design. Every quarter, a package arrives proving it, I'm sure. The second, though, is your judgment, the family's accumulated ability to decide well, the pattern recognition that took 30 years and real losses to build. Now, name the apparatus protecting that. Who reviews it? Who audits it? Who is the trustee? In most families, often families with 10-figure balance sheets, the answer is nobody. There is no system. There is hope that the wisdom transfers over dinners by osmosis, of course. Well, it doesn't. I've watched it not transfer for over 2 decades. So most families are getting richer. Yes, they're getting richer and less capable at the same time. And their reporting only measures the first one. Nothing in the quarterly package tells you whether the family's judgment grew this quarter, whether the next generation understands one more thing than it did in March, whether anything that lives in the founder's head made it out of the founder's head. You measure what you treasure. And this industry has trained families to treasure exactly one of the 2 things that actually matter. Your governance then, does 2 jobs that traditional model probably does 0 of. One, it makes decisions fast, and it makes judgment compound. So I do go back to velocity first. Some of you may disagree. A decision needs 3 things: the right information, the right authority, and no clock. The machine delivers the information. Every decision arrives pre-analyzed, scenarios modeled, and the rival model's objections already on the table. So you design the other 2. Routine operations below a threshold, machine executed, human review by exception. The middle band. Your operator decides inside of 24 hours. Strategic commitments, 48 hours. Full analysis attached. Only the genuinely transformational really gets the 7 days in the whole family. And the rule that makes it real, a missed deadline is not a pause, it's an automatic escalation. Nothing dies in an inbox ever. Decided 70% certainty, waiting for 90 is probably not rigor. It's fear with a spreadsheet at the day's end. Ask the question that separates the serious operations probably from the theater. Not what did you do today? What did you get done? What did you get done today? Activity is not achievement. With the machine tracking every commitment to its conclusion, hiding behind, the business stops being possible. Then the second job, the one no committee has ever done, govern the judgment. Every meaningful decision gets recorded with its own reasoning, not just the outcome, into a family's permanent memory. And the review habit changes accordingly. You review the reasoning, not just the result. I think this should be pretty obvious to you. A good outcome from sloppy thinking is luck, and luck really teaches nothing. A loss from sound reasoning is tuition, and tuition probably should never get paid twice. Once a year, measure the second line, the one no advisor will put into your package. What does the rising generation actually control, not just attend, however control? What decisions do they make this year with real consequences? I know when I host and consult the families in family meetings, I'm giving you some insider secrets here. What did this family learn this year that is now written down somewhere outside of one person's head? If those answers embarrass you, it's like actually good. That embarrassment is worth more than your last performance report because it's measuring the thing that decides whether there's a fourth generation at all. One more thing. Since governance is ultimately about people, when you hire for mindset and the ability to learn, even before skill. My favorite interview question in the business, tell me about a time you replaced yourself with technology. The person with a real answer is an operator. The person offended by the question is like museum staff. You're being liberated from them. You're lucky. And notice, this entire section is just my 3 tests really applied. Let's go back to them. First principles govern the 2 things that actually compound, not the rituals. Speed, hours, not quarters at every tier. Bottlenecks, find every approval loop that exists for comfort rather than function. Oh, I just gave you a good one. Every meeting that could have been a decision and get it out of the way, every one of them. A $50 million family that decides in hours compounds its judgment, holds an advantage no billion-dollar family office committee will ever catch. Speed is what better information is for. Capture is what better decisions are for. Govern both those lines. Now, the enemy within your gates. A warning. Warning. Because the moment you begin this build, I've been doing this too long. Something predictable happens. Everyone around your money will try to talk you out of it. Your trusted advisors will tell you this is too complex, too risky, too ambitious for a family your size. I could maybe state my translation of that. We're about to lose our fee stream. Your current providers, banks and platforms will suddenly, now that they know you're onto this, become incredibly attentive, concerned for you, generous with warnings, offering at last the access they never offered before. Notice the timing, though. The system ignores you until you reach for the exit. Now, the third enemy is actually quieter. Your own programmed doubt, decades of marketing have trained you to believe you need their permission, that families like yours don't do this. You're too small. The velvet rope is load bearing. And I know that voice well. I helped to write the script back when I believed, and it was more applicable in that old math. Now, here's the truth that really dissolves all 3. Every billionaire family office on earth, started somewhere, and most started, especially going back, probably started with less sophistication than you will have on day one, because none of them started with the technological resources, the machine we now have. The transformation isn't really in the documents. It's in like more of the posture from a consumer of the financial system to how about being a controller of your own? Stop asking, is this allowed? Start asking, how do I optimize this? Stop thinking about preserving wealth in that traditional definition. Start thinking about compounding a dynasty. Stop accepting industry standards. Start setting family standards. The people who profit from your dependence will probably call this arrogance. Like, wake up. And why now? 3 storms are converging. And it's not really what I would even define as a neutral backdrop. As I noted, the intelligence revolution, the arbitrage that we've covered, the window where AI native families build advantages before the crowd catches up. Every arbitrage in history closed the same way, when every Everyone else finally understood it. Two, the trust collapse. Banks that fail on weekends, advisors structurally conflicted, institutions that treated your data like as their asset. You can be a casualty of the system's decay or more proactive, an architect of your exit. And how about the control imperative? I mean, like, look at what's on the table now. Wealth taxes on the table in serious jurisdictions, unrealized gains proposals that were unthinkable a decade ago, capital controls, currency debasement, political volatility aimed squarely at families like yours. Against that landscape, a sovereign family office, it's not a status symbol, it's a survival architecture. And waiting, it's not neutral. By waiting, you're making a decision and you're making the worst one available. A year from now, without this, and other seven figures surrendered, your children a year older and not 1 hour more capable. The families who started a full year of compounding ahead, 10 years from now, that gap is not a gap, it's a different game. And someone in your family asked the question you least want to answer. You least want to answer this. Why didn't we do this when we could? So, the one question that maybe survives all analysis, if not now, when? What, when fees are higher? When the regulations are tighter? When your children are less teachable? When the window is closed? You will never be more ready than you are this very moment. Now, we're heading somewhat to the home stretch. The rising generation. Think of it as capability, not really a seat. One more thing the current system quietly destroys, but the family office could quietly rebuild your children. Ask a principal about his or her heirs, and they answer too fast. Oh, the kids are involved. Involved, really? Involved means they attend the family meeting. It means they're copied on a quarterly deck. Involved means that they have a seat. A seat is not the same as them wanting in. And your children know the difference, even when you don't. Here's what I've actually watched across, again, hundreds of families. The rising generation almost never rejects wealth. What they reject is the role that they're being offered inside. Because in most families, that role is really decorative. Show up, be briefed, nod, don't break anything, wait for what? For what? Wait for, essentially, for death. This is the implicit career path in most family offices. Your job is to wait for your inheritance responsibly. And then your parents are generally shocked when a bright, capable 30-year-old finds that arrangement probably suffocating and pours him or herself into anything else, a startup, a foundation, maybe a life 3 time zones away. That's not disengagement. That's a rational response to a broken offer. I've watched both versions from up close. I've shared this one before, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. One family heir, 38, 10 years on the investment committee, never once had final authority over anything, but can recite the portfolio in their sleep, but has never decided. When the transition comes, and sometimes it comes suddenly. In that example, he will hold assets he has observed but never operated. That family transferred a balance sheet, and they're going to call that succession. Another family, the daughter, 26, was handed a real allocation, not play money, real, with real consequences and a real mandate. Her father, in the room afterward, not to overrule her, but to interrogate the reasoning. Not, again, was the outcome good? Was the thinking sound? 10 years later, she isn't waiting for anything. She is the most capable allocator in the family office now, or at least the family now, including the generation above her. When her transition comes, nothing will actually transfer except a title. The capability moved years ago. Same wealth, same love. Nobody in the first family was negligent. The difference was architecture. One family built a waiting room, the other built a training ground. Think about it. In your family office, the training ground is the design. And the curriculum probably does have ages. 16 to 18, maybe mock portfolios, real-time feedback from the family's own systems, learning by doing, not by watching a presentation just once a year. 18 to 22, leading machine-assisted diligence on live transactions, managing a real asset with real numbers, defending proposals to the family. 22 to 30, the proving ground, a real domain, genuine responsibility for the result. Transaction sourced, executed end to end, a seat earned through performance, never granted by birthday. Because you know this from your own life. Nobody ever fell in love with a business by just observing it. And this is where everything collapses into one point. The judgment being captured in your family's permanent memory. The heirs are the only place that effectively it can ultimately go. Like judgment doesn't transfer, it just doesn't, into a trust. It transfers into a person, or it dies with the person who has it. The heir handed real decisions with real stakes early, while the elders are still alive to coach their reasoning. That their heir engages not because you demanded loyalty, because you finally gave them something worth being loyal to. Did you ever think about it that way? The next generation should not be given a seat, but they should be given capability and let the capability earn the seat. Something that I kind of call your number in the room. Let me land kind of where this actually lives. Your capital will probably be fine. Truly, the money is the most protected, most professionally managed, most redundantly safeguarded thing probably in your entire world. I don't know if anyone needs to worry about the money. What's at risk is everything the money can't buy back once it's gone. The judgment compounding instead of dying. The children choosing this family's work instead of escaping it. Those two things are one thing, and they will not survive by default. They survive by architecture, built deliberately, early, while the people who hold the wisdom are still there to hand it over. The greatest family offices are not defined by their assets. They are defined by their capability, the quality of their decisions, the speed of their execution, the strength of their people, the clarity of their purpose, the adaptability of their systems, and the capability of the family itself. Everything in this argument, intent, lender, and the 5-entity stack, have you stood with me this long? The falling investment moats, the machine governing both lines, the training ground. Every piece exists to raise your family score on those 6 dimensions I just named. AI amplifies capability. Governance preserves it, and culture compounds it. And this is where this ends in really 2 steps. Step 1, why don't you learn your number? I built an instrument called the Continuity Index. It's 44 questions, 440 points, your family office, even if today it's just you, one advisor and a spreadsheet scored honestly against the 6 capabilities. It will show you your 2 weakest capabilities where the disproportionate, where the most opportunity for gains are hiding. At least you now know it. And it will show you the strength that's actually concealing a weakness. The 8 sitting next to a 3. And I'll tell you what I see across every cohort. Capability of the family is where the strongest balance sheets in the world routinely post their weakest number. Go find yours. Go to angelorobles.com. 20 minutes free. You'll see the continuity index. You can't miss it on my website. And anyone can learn their number. Now, there is a step 2 because my members actually change it. Everything I just described, the doctrines, the structures, the architecture, my playbooks exist in a built, documented, operational form inside my SFO continuity, my private intelligence strategy and membership community, the operating system for the modern family office. Membership puts all of it in your hands over 12 months. Both of my living books that I rewrite every 30 days, the AI native single family office and 10 things every family should be doing now with AI. My executive playbook, because a printed book on AI, come on, that's like so outdated after it comes out. And my family office playbook that gives you an 850 questions framework. I mentioned earlier my complete top 1% family office, how to build, how to restructure a family office operating system that I update twice a year. My 4-day forum in Palm Beach, my 2 days in New York, my multiple soirees, dinners, private programs, New York, LA, Palm Beach, Vienna, Mexico, my masterclasses, my AI family office masterclass where I'll be this week, Wednesday and Thursday, August 12th and 13th, next one, November 4th and 5th, and other masterclasses next year on creating for my members this family office at whatever, $100, $200 million or less. Understand what makes the room different. Conferences, bank symposiums, they're free because many people in that room are trying to sell you something. Sure, mine requires membership. That's the seat. That's the access. Because other than my 4 days in Palm Beach or my 2 days in New York, where I have very, very, very few, I just do not accept sponsors and outside relationships. Period. It's simple. Now, here's a deeper reason to be in it. No family should build this alone. Everything in this session I'm talking about here, the structure, the machine, the training ground, could be built faster and better besides families a few steps ahead of you. And some families right at your side, comparing what actually works. And that is what my SFO continuity is. Not an audience, a community of thinkers who build within the family office world. The experts will keep insisting the family office starts at $1 billion. Let them. I made that argument better than they did for years. And now I'm wrong. Their argument was always about effectively the price of intelligence. They haven't noticed the price has collapsed. Stop waiting for permission to control your destiny. Do not outsource your thinking. Take control of more than your money, your wealth, your legacy, your continuity. I know because I will help you. You will build a machine, learn your number via my continuity index, and then become a member and change it. And remember, not only through me, global experts of the highest quality globally, it's your peers, it's families, some of them 50 million, a couple of them above 100 billion. You don't have to go through this alone. Join the families that are actually building. And I said earlier, if not now, then when? And I do want to see you inside. Now, yes, some of you are, as I'm done. Wow, that was long. An hour and 35 minutes solo. God damn, I could talk. I've been building this up for weeks. I've been reading things in social media and other people, some that I respect in the family office world, espousing that half billion, billion, 2 billion, one even implying basically you're not the bottom of the Forbes 400 at 8 billion. Like, don't even bother. They are wrong. Think about, are they conflicted? That's one thing. And then, do they really understand the nuances of privacy, control, and customization? What I spoke about intent, about continuity and perpetuity in the family, about the engagement of it, about the lender versus IRS, at least here in the US, about the 5-entity stack, and the big one, what used to be the reams of people, and now more tactical outsourcing, but more importantly, the power of the machine of intelligence. Humans created effectively sand that thinks. Think about it in terms of AI. And that capability will never be weaker than it is today. Although linear as a form of intelligence still valuable as IQ, when the highest levels like Fable 5 are mid 140s and Einstein was 160, and look at how it's rapidly increasing, not what used to feel like 3 or 4 months. Now it's weeks it's changing. Even just Grok 4.5 to 4.6 was like a 2.5 week gap. And now they're expecting the next one in 2 weeks. The competition is great. It's happening so quick. Intelligence is dropping the cost of it radically. And you get 168 hours a week out of it. You just have to know how to harness this. You don't have to let go of people in your family office. The redundancy of a lot of that work could be better and faster, augmented with AI, releasing the human creativity, the deeper thinking, the critical thinking, the collaboration that could come. Actually, in some ways, one of my relationships believed that AI could unlock not just more family offices, by the way, and including with like all the riches created from SpaceX, other major companies going public soon. What's going to happen is a hell of a lot of people from 50 to a billion are now going to need a family office and need incredible people to be a part of it more than ever before. But he noted a good point that certain things on deal access and deal making could also be an influx of people, even while other things become more AI enabled. So let's be positive about this. We don't need to be negative. That's not going to get you anywhere. Playing the victim is the loser's game. Weak people think the world is against them, and they might be right. Strong people don't give a you know what if it is. You need the mindset. You need the skills that become a utility. Nothing that you learn this day, the next 30 days, is going to come anywhere close to anything you could do with AI that maximizes your capability. Your number 2 through 10 combined and times by 10 will not touch it. Yet, you let resistance and fear get in your way. Knowing what the inevitable is, maybe that's 6 months, a year, maybe it is 4 to 5 years out. Do you want that to be you? To be blindsided, to be ignorant, to look back and say you could have done something, but you didn't? Many of you heard me mention now my second AI masterclass, in-person immersive this summer is, if you're watching this live, it's tomorrow. I've had people join a day before and jump on in and figure out a way to get to my masterclass, even if they're a couple of hours late. So that's August 12th and 13th. The best faculty along with me in the world, access to my whole framework, my blueprint, both of my books totaling 600 pages. I am by far the most active person in the family office world who integrates and uses AI, builds with AI, has reams of hundreds of agents across various platforms that I use. And we teach you all that. We give you markdown files. You then put that into a Claude code. It creates software and programs for you. We're building a database of that for our members that is incredible. Deal sourcing, deal tracking, aggregation reporting, some accounting services. Do you think it's going to get worse as the days go on? It's going to get better. The people in the network of SFO continuity, the members, the builders. We have someone 81 who's going to be part of the class tomorrow. 81. Rich, doesn't need it for more money, wants the institutional knowledge, it's still mentally very alert, engaging the rising generation, readapting the family office. Doing this well before the summer is over gives you an incredible edge. Yet, many of you, sounds interesting, but I'll pass for now. You don't take action. Why? Because it takes the seat of being a member? And yeah, that's not inconsequential. You get what you pay for. I've been in this community for decades. This is the time. There's never been a time like this in human history. And part of it is a little scary. I agree with you. Even if you're a little bit late and you miss August 12th and 13th, why wait? While we're still in August, join, do a 2-hour onboarding with me, get instant access to all my books and resources, including the AI books. Now you won't be as rushed. Relax over the 2 weeks of summer to absorb it and get into it. Join at our forum in New York, September 15th and 16th, and then jump into the November 4th and 5th AI Masterclass. And the other programming we'll have even in Vienna, Mexico City, segueing into Florida, and then a hyper busy first quarter from Miami to Palm Beach. Peer to peer. This is the time. You're looking for the perfect time to sometimes step in, and that like will never happen. There are times you need to just jump in to the deep end of the pool. There's one person attending tomorrow that even sent a note to me, and it was understood. Like I'm a little nervous about this with AI, including for my own maybe job security. Understandable. Putting your head in the sand, ignoring it as younger generations in a family rise up are going to be more native in it, and you not being is not going to be to your advantage. Agreed? I think we all could agree with that. So don't put your head in the sand. You're jumping on board. You're a member. You have the books. You're going to be immersed tomorrow. You're going to meet, and the day after, you're going to meet incredible faculty, incredible peers, and we're going to do hand-holding, strategies and techniques for the first thing you should do, for how you could improve your workday and your workflows, understanding what a markdown file is, building some internal resources. Like at least she is taking the initiative and the action. And like I told her, I'm closer to 61 than 60. I'm not a technologist. I got pretty hardcore into AI about 2 years ago. And really, Opus 4.5 lasts like November 1st. And then the advent of Claude Code is what changed everything like 9 months ago. It's not even a year. Yes, I put the 500 plus hours into it. Yes, I know some incredible people. Yes, I'm building with other often family office executives, some incredible tools and resources internally for our members and family offices around the world. But you have to join. You have to be a member. That is effectively the seat. And there is no question, as I went over an hour and a half today, given the context and value, no matter what your number is, from what, 50 million to 500 billion, the value of a family office, a single family office done right, it is the best. Now, many are not optimized the way they could be. And I gave away many secrets here. I learned a little bit from interviewing Tony Robbins digitally and in person over the years. You could give people 98% of what to do, give them the book, that 2,000 pages, collectively all of mine are actually about that. They're just, most people are most people. They don't want to be great. Oh, I'm too busy. You don't need to sleep 8 hours every night. You could go a week with 3 or 4 hours sleep a night and use that time to learn, lose your weekends. The world is resting this summer, but not you. Sergey Brin's not resting. He's worth what, 400 billion. It's a special time in history. You can do this. You can do it. Now is the time. And yes, if you're maybe even 30 million, but definitely at 50 million to 100 million, there's nuances on your age and circumstance and how your assets are held. Sure. But broadly, from 50 to 100 million, an SFO is at least on the table. And maybe a no, but at least understand it. Rewatch this video. At least my members are going to get some written content, white papers about it, other resources I'll be creating actually this weekend into the rest of the summer, and definitely ready by Labor Day, coupled with this video and masterclasses more so for early next year in Florida that I'll do on the subject, not just my voice, bringing in the best of the best in family dynamics, family structures, legal. Like I said, next Tuesday, digitally, Martin Michaels, maybe the lead family office attorney ex-US globally. Like, the resources are right here in the group. So how many people are worth 50 to 100 million, or 50 million to say $500 million? Like hundreds of thousands globally that could all consider and maybe have a family office. Again, what does that then do to the talent inside the family office? Sure, with technology, are family offices doing more with less? Do many of them need to have 15, 20, 25 employees? Some do, maybe more, but most don't. Probably 2 to 4 people, even for a sub-billion dollar family office, will be a little bit of a wave that we may see moving forward. But there will be more, maybe much more, single family offices. There could be, if you go by the numbers that I'm talking about. It's just that people don't know what they don't know. There's very few people like me that are talking about it, I hope talking about it somewhat intellectually, and have the resources to help. And there's a lot of conflicted information and interest out there. And again, if you're in the industry, especially someone of some level of prominence, and I probably respect you, and I don't think I have all the answers, but you want to debate on this subject, like, oh, no, you're only worth, 79 million. You cannot have a single family office. I will destroy you. You are so wrong. I might even build there on the stage intelligence. Unless you know, and I'm certain things I didn't mention today that I'm keeping close to the vest for my members only, or that debate with a so-called pundit on the other side of the fence. I don't want to give them all of my ammunition. So again, I've been in this community for decades. You could tell, I hope I have some intelligence about it. And I'm definitely passionate. Don't let my age for 1 second or a pocket square fool you. I'm all in. Bridges have been burned. I can't go back. I love what I do. And I would love you to go to angelorobles.com, learn more, and become a member. Some comments. One, thank you. Like another one about the pocket square, but it's a good one. So I love you too. Last night was like, hey, you look like Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, rest his soul, was much better looking than me, more famous, and I believe wealthier as well. So, but when I put on my black Stetson cowboy hat, like me and Chuck in the beard, he could also whip my butt. He passed away about a year ago. Even at 81, he probably could have done that too. Octavian, yes. Octavian and I, he's in Europe. I've interviewed him. Great guy. We disagree on some things, probably more political and geopolitical, but that's okay. A friendship is a friendship. I learn from everyone, and he is awesome. Yeah, I mean, broadly, some comments. Again, very little on the family office structuring and comments, very little about the investing, even really nothing about the AI aspect, but a lot of it about the family business, the family dynamics, the rising gen, and broadly agreeing and happy that I not only AI, that I do talk about other subjects. Like some of you think it's only AI, a little geopolitics and investing, and all things I do love. And I think AI underlines all of that. But a family office and the keyword family is much, much deeper than that. I just think that a lot of the conversations that I see around intent, around governance, and I took a different perspective today, I think they've gotten old and stale. Advisors have not adapted their thinking. And yeah, some of them I do butt heads with, to be honest with you. Probably not a surprise if you know me. Apparently, I've been butting heads with a fair amount of people lately. But I wish them the best. And I don't think I have all the answers, and I look to learn. Yes, Octavian Pilati, I believe it is. Again, great guy. When I was in Vienna, we met. Incredible background in interviewing someone from 1,000-year-old family. I did it both in person and I think twice digitally. Probably due to have him back again. And again, I want to meet more incredible people. I don't think I have all the answers. Introduce me to people. Those of you that probably need to be a little bit more of a public figure in the family office world that disagree with me on this, I'm happy to have a debate. Sometimes I may raise my voice or yell a little bit, but you could do it back to me as well. We got to keep it engaging for the audience after all. And again, for those of you that would like to learn more in terms of the things I discussed and actually building, whether it's from the AI and or they're interrelated, the family office at even the sub $100 million mark. And again, I got multiple members at billions. I got two, I guess, Forbes 30. One of them for sure above 100 billion. So I got huge families as well. They're just going to have more layers and bureaucracy that, again, creates more complexities, especially for an existing system with protective layers and committees around it. Well, if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it. It's meant to have some challenges. But I do appreciate many of your very, very kind comments. If you're not following me on social, go to my @FamilyOffice on YouTube. Many of you already follow me on LinkedIn. And if you want the real deal, you go and become a member. AngeloRobles.com. Again, thank you for many, many of the comments. Very, very helpful comments to your peers in the chat, so to speak. It's a little bit tiny font, so some of it's a little hard for my now 61-year-old eyes to read. I hope we're all good. Again, I'm off to New York, my masterclass August 12th and 13th, AI integration, hardcore. Some of you I'm going to see there because you're members and you're signed up. I do look forward to it. And I'll keep my eye on my email. If you're in the greater New York area or can make it, it is not too late. And it will 100% change your life, and quickly. I'm Angelo Robles, everyone. Have a great day, a great week. Maybe I'll be live this weekend, if not until next week. And other things in my mind that I can't wait to talk about. Thank you all so much and have a great day.